Welcome back to the Knit Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we're going to explore miter squares, where we are going to knit and use the garter stitch in order to create a square. So we're going to start off on one edge and then get smaller in order to create this look. So the miter square is based on a very simple concept. We are going to cast on and we are going to be completely on this edge here. When you go to start, it's going to be completely flat, but as we work on this, we're going to be eliminating stitches out in the middle, which is going to cause the work to bend on the 90 degrees just like you see here. So every time that we eliminate stitches out through the middle, there's less and less stitches. So we start off big and then we eventually get smaller and smaller all the way to the point on the other side. So it's a really interesting concept in order to play with. You will notice that there is a difference of the two sides. When you go to change color, if you choose to do so, that you will see a line on the other side. So you will have a good side and a wrong side, or a right side and wrong side when it comes to this concept if you are changing colors just like so. So you just have to pay attention to that if you are maintaining any kind of pattern as such. So there's a way to figure out the miters in order to do counts. Let's explore that next. So on the knitcrowd.com, in the more information of this video, there's a link and it will take you directly there, where I've got a calculator for you in order to figure out the stitch counts in order to do so. So in order to do a miter square just like you see here, you need an odd number. So it can be 3, 5, it can be anything that is odd. So if you have an even number like 10, 12, 14, those will not work. So it always has to be an odd number. So when we go to start this project, we are going to start with an odd number that is the complete width that you see here. So in this example here, that you see that there was 33 that was cast onto the knitting needles, and then we have to figure out how we're going to get this middle piece and what the stitch count is. So that's really quite easy to figure out. Let me go through that. To do this concept, so I had 33 here on the knitting needles, and then what you have to do is that you have to minus 3. So you can have any number that you want as long as that it's odd, and you subtract 3 from that number, and then you take that new number and divide it by 2, and that will give you the amount of stitches that you need to do in order to knit before hitting this center. So this one was doing of 33, and so I had 33 cast on. I minus 3, which gives me 30. Divide that number by 2 and that gives me 15. So there's 15 knit stitches along the side. I've done my decrease and then 15 along the other side. So in this particular pattern design, what happens is the next row is completely just knit. There's no decreasing required. So you just have to then just knit across, and then when you go to start the other side again, now that you've eliminated a stitch with the center decrease, the next time it will be 14 stitches across, then the center, and then 14 out the other side. Then the next row is just simply knit. The next one will be 13, and then the center, and then 13, just like you see. So you see that you're eliminating one stitch per side whenever you're implementing this whole center decrease in the middle. So let's go through a smaller example, and if you want to change colors, it's still the same rules of changing colors on the outside of starting a row. We have tutorials available now on that as well. So let's go through a miniature example to show you how to make this turn right in the center of a miter. So let's begin with the slip knot on the knitting needles. If you're left or right-handed, it'll appear differently on each video because I do left to right-handed and I'm naturally right-handed. So I'm going to cast on, and I'm just going to use my regular method that I prefer, and I'm just going to wrap the knitting needles. So I'm just going to put this in my hand. Remember that how to hold the knitting needles and everything's already been covered in our tutorial series. So I'm just going to put it on, and I'm just going to rotate like so and slide it onto the knitting needles. So I'm going to go in, you're going to wrap, okay, and again we've already covered this, so pull through, and when you go to put it, you just have to rotate it like this. You see that? So I'm just going to put a total of 9 stitches onto my knitting needles. Okay, technically I kind of don't count right off the bat because I'm kind of lazy, but I'm still getting used to knitting as far as I know at this time with filming. So you know, I'm getting more and more used to the knitting needles, of the rotation of the hooks, or of the needles. I'm still calling them hooks. It's all good. And I want to create a total of 9 chains, or 9 stitches on. So I have to, in order to do miter, I have to keep it an odd number. So I can't do 10 or 12 or 14. I have to keep it odd. So it could be 7, it could be 9, it could be 11, it could be 13, it could be 15. Just make sure that you keep it odd, just like you see. So let's give that a count. So 2, 4, 6, 8, and this one is 9, so I got one extra, so I'll remove that extra one out, and now I have my odd number, which is 9. So how many do I need to do in order to figure out the miter? Let's show you that. So to figure out the miter, what's happened is that I have 9 stitches. So 9 stitches minus 3 gives me a total of 6. Take that number, divide it by 2, which gives you 3. So that means that I have to knit 3 in the very beginning, and then the next 3 are going to be the decrease, and then there's going to be 3 left on the other side. It doesn't matter how many stitches that you have on when you start, as long as it's an odd number, as long as you subtract 3 from that number and divide it by 2. So the very first row that you'll ever do, you don't have to do anything special. You're just gonna knit as normal. So let's just put this back into my hands and just do a garter stitch. So it's just the knit stitch, it's the garter stitch, the whole thing practically, and you're just gonna go all the way across, and on a piece of paper you're gonna want to write down your steps. So I figured out that it's going to be 3 stitches on either side of the center point based on starting with 9. So on a piece of paper what I'll do is I'll write that information out, and I'll show you that in just a moment, and then it'll help you also. So I'm just gonna knit all the way across just for the first row in order to get this pattern established. So on my piece of paper what I did is that I said I have 3 stitches, and then I do the decrease, and then I have 3 stitches on the other side of the corner. The next one then I just straight knit. So what I'm gonna do is check that off. When I finish it, the next row is just knit. The next one then will be 2 stitches in a row, okay, and then decrease, and then 2 on the other side of the corner, and then the next row is knit. The next side will be 1 stitch, and then the decrease, and then it will be 1 left on the other side. The next one is just knit, and then I do a decrease and finish. So it doesn't matter what you had. So when that bigger square I had 33 that I started with, which gave me 30. When I subtracted out 3, which gave me 15. So then it was 15, decrease, 15, knit, and then the next one was 14, decrease, 14, knit, and I kept on going just like that. So let's just show you how to do the decrease in this row. So let's begin and show you how to do the decrease. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. So I determined that the first 3 are just knit. So let's just knit those as normal. Okay, so 1. Okay, and when you get long, then you might just want to do a whack of them and just count. So here's 3. So to do the miter in the middle for the decrease, what's gonna happen is that the first 2 here, you are going to slip onto this knitting needle that I'm touching right here. And you are going to slip it as if you were going to knit it. So just coming up on the underside, collect both of them. Okay, the first time through is always kind of a little bit rough when you're going to start projects, but I'm now collect both of them just like you see, and I just slid it onto this knitting needle. So I did nothing with it, and the next one I'm just gonna knit as normal. So just wrapping then to knit and pull through. But here's the thing. So these 2 that you just did that with, you have to then go back and carry those and pull those up over top of the last one you just knit, and those 3 just all became a one piece unit just like that. Okay, I'll show that again in the future. So look, you got 3 left over. So I started off with 3, I did my decrease, I'm left with 3, and that's how that number is determined. So I just knit then the final of this. Okay, so by doing that you're gonna notice that the middle piece section of your work on the knitting needle is gonna start to droop right in here. So let's turn our work here and start the next one. So the next row, as I told you before, it's just regular knitting. Okay, so every other row is just a regular knit across. It allows the pattern to catch up, and you are just gonna knit just like you see. So I'm not really counting anything. So I've got a row that I have a break of counting, and this allows everything to catch back up just like you see. Okay, so this is just a garter stitch. It's a knit stitch back and forth like you see. Now what you can just do is turn your work. So this next row is going to be another decrease row. So this time there's only gonna be 2 stitches in a row because I already determined that on my piece of paper. And so the first 2 are gonna be knit. Okay, so you've eliminated 1 stitch out with the last time you did a decrease, and then you got your 2 done, and now the next 3 are gonna play together. So insert your knitting needles in and put these 2 together. So just insert in as if you're going to knit them. Okay, it's like a knit 2 together. Slide them off okay, and put them onto this side and knit the next one. And before you go on, just take those 2 that you just slid up over and put it over top of the one that you just finished. And then you knit the remainder, so there's only 2 left this time. So do you understand the pattern? Isn't that kind of neat? It's not too hard at all. It's actually kind of a lot easier than I expected. So turn your work. So guess what? You just did the decrease, so this row is just simply knit. Just like you see. So every other row you get a break. Okay, so the next row that we're gonna do another decrease. So this one here, there's only gonna be 1 stitch in a row because that's what I determined, and it's also what I can see here. So I knit the first one. Okay, the next one you're gonna put those 2 together, so just going in behind. Okay, got it. Slide it off, knit the next one, going up and over, and take those 2 that you slid up and put it over. Just take your time doing it. You don't want to drop any of your stitches, and then you knit the final one like so. And so we're almost done. You have 3 stitches left on your knitting needles, and then you're just gonna knit those as normal. And what are you gonna do with the final? So the final one of the final corner is that you'll have 3 stitches left. So what do you think you're gonna do? So you're gonna take the first 2, okay, slide it up over top and slide it onto that knitting needle, knit the next one, and then these 2 just come over just like that. And that's it. So now you've just created a square. So let me just pull some extra slack here. So now you've just created a miter square, just like you see here, where you started off bigger, you got more and more narrow, and then you ended up back in a point. That's how you do a miter square, and this is a free pattern available by yarnspirations.com, and you'll see this on several of their particular patterns. Until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of the Knit Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. Have a good one. See ya.